My name is Lauren Lawson. I'm a PhD student at Newcastle University, and my ePoster presentation is about digital tool selection to facilitate the assessment of ADLs in the early detection of dementia. Instrumental activities of daily living, known as ADLs, refer to abilities that are central to maintaining independence. They include complex activities such as medication usage, shopping, and financial management. Mild cognitive impairment, known as MCI, is a condition characterized by changes in cognition and minor impairment in functional ability, which can develop into dementia. Research suggests that subtle impairments in the performance of ADLs can predict cognitive decline. We know that digital technologies can be used to capture changes in ADL performance. And by studying this in people with MCI, this information could be used to assist clinical decision-making surrounding disease progression to dementia. However, from the literature, it was unclear how ADLs had been assessed in people with MCI using digital technologies. So we conducted a systematic review, which aimed to firstly identify the digital methods and metrics used to assess ADLs in MCI, and secondly, report any significant differences in these assessments. From existing reviews, we found there was no standardization of ADLs, so we used existing questionnaires to synthesize the ADLs we expected to find into 7 broad domains. We then searched 8 electronic databases for studies that had used continuous remote digital technology, had measured ADLs in populations with clinically assessed MCI. We excluded studies that had used scripted tasks, were conducted in aged care facilities, or included populations with diagnoses of other conditions affecting cognition or function. Our search identified 16,099 articles. 6,811 were screened after removing duplicates, 218 articles were assessed at full text, and 15 studies were included for analysis. In total, 11 digital technologies were used to record 5 domains of IADL. None of the digital technologies assessed IADLs relating to culturally specific tasks or socialization and communication. Motion sensors were the most commonly used technology in 5 studies. Ambient technology was used in 93% or 14 studies versus wearables in 20% or 3. Some studies used a range of technologies, but in general individual IADLs were only measured by 1 device. 79 discrete metrics were reported, 65 of those were used once. The pie chart shows the distribution of metrics. For example, in the domain everyday technology use, 36 discrete metrics were reported, which was 46% of the total number of reported metrics. There were inconsistencies between studies. For example, 2 studies assessed driving via use of the same passive sensor. 1 reported 20 metrics and 1 reported 4. These metrics were then reported on different scales, which limited comparison. All metrics in the domain everyday technology use pertain to home computer usage. In comparison, pen and paper measures assessed electronic household appliances, remote controls, and mobile phone use, which suggests that potentially relevant metrics are not being collected digitally. No strong evidence was found to support differences in IADL digital endpoints between MCI and normal aging or dementia. Because of the large number of discrete metrics, it was difficult to compare these findings, so meta-analysis was not possible, which highlights the need for standardization in digital IADL measurement. There were several limitations of the included studies. For example, only 1 study included validation information. No studies checked digital technologies against existing IADL measures. This is a consistent problem in the literature and in other spaces, such as Parkinson's research, so it's unclear whether or not the digital measures are assessing similar constructs. Only 2 studies assessed acceptability of technologies. However, in both studies, over 80% of participants reported positive feedback. No studies addressed data privacy. There was an inconsistent classification of MCI. Diagnosis of MCI is inconsistent in the literature, and here classification differed by study, and it's important for this to be done with clinical assessment, ideally with a consensus panel of clinicians to improve research. And finally, ethnicity wasn't reported by over 50% of the included papers. In light of our findings, we made 3 recommendations for future research. Firstly, increase feasibility testing in MCI. So multi-system technologies able to monitor differences in discrete IADL measures in other populations should be tested for feasibility and acceptability within MCI. 2. Choose meaningful metrics. A core set of IADL metrics relevant to meaningful outcomes should be co-designed by people affected by MCI, carers, clinicians, and industry partners. And 3. Develop valid, reliable approaches. Digital methods should be validated against traditional tools. Monitoring multiple IADL-related behaviours with passive and active devices may improve data collection. So in summary, digital technologies have potential to capture continuous and objective measurements of IADL performance. But increasing standardization and validation is necessary alongside input from those with lived experience to ensure the data captured is relevant and useful. If you're interested in reading more about this, you can scan the QR code to see our publication, which discusses some of these findings. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me via email or on the website formerly known as Twitter. And thank you for your time.